Peter saw Jesus assure them that it was he said, Lord, if it is you, let me come on the water. And Jesus said to him, come. But when he get out of the boat and began to walk on the water and realized how strong the wind was, he began to doubt. And he began to sink while he asked Jesus, Lord, save me. Jesus reached out to Peter and said to him, O man of little faith. My dear people, today the true readings speak to us about trusting God. Trust in that faith that we have in Him. In the first reading today, we encounter the prophet Elijah, a man who was running away for his life from Queen Jezebel, the woman who really wants to kill him because he killed all her 400 prophets. And now, running in the desert, he finds himself sheltered in a cave. And while he was there, a raven was coming to him with a loaf of bread, and he drank from the stream that was still pouring water. And we know that the Lord comes to him and said that he needs to go to Mount Sinai, Mount Horeb. And there the Lord was going to talk to him. And while he was covering his face, because there was like a thunder and a lot of winds, but in that wind the Lord did not come. He saw also fire. The Lord was not in the fire. He saw and experienced earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. Then all of a sudden there was a nice breeze. And then the Lord comes and talks to Elijah. In the Gospel today we find the same situation. Jesus, after he heard the death of his cousin John the Baptist, and he went to be by himself, but moved with pity for the crowd, he began to teach them. In fact, he also fed them. And after he did so, because they want to make him a king, he fled by himself to the mountains. And then he came back to his disciples. And they were battling a storm as their boat was being tossed by the waves and wind. And he came to them in the middle of the night. And he also made sure that he assured them that it was he. My dear people, the story of the gospel is the story of each one of us. We know that we are living in a multitude of disturbance and sometimes multitude of upsetness that we go in life. And in the storm of our life, we also see a glimpse of Jesus. But because our personal relation with him is not that sound, we think that he is a ghost. We think that he is something else, and we fail to trust him. Even when he reached out to us and tried to take us like he take Peter, we still have doubts in our hearts. And that's why today that gospel was presented to us, because in the middle of our course of life, in the journey of our journey towards our destination, we encounter the same situation that the apostles encountered in the middle of the sea. We are all in the boat of Jesus, and the boat is the church. And we know that the church from time to time, there is people who raise questions and some even persecution towards her. And from time to time the church tossed by the winds and by the situation that she finds herself in. And because of this, many times we fail to believe that Jesus is with us, the one who made the promise, I am with you until the end of time. And although sometimes we try to put trust in him, we want assurance, and that assurance sometimes is based on what we can touch and what we can feel. What are the storms that we encounter in life? The storm that we encounter in life is the economy, the science, the technology that we have so much at the top of our finger. We can find it in our computer, we can find it so easily because it is so rapid. And many times, although we have this energy, although we have all that God has provided the mind of man to find, we fail to recognize that behind all this there is a creator. And that creator is the one who is really ruling the world. That creator is the one who is reaching out to us. That creator is the one who is telling us to have faith in him. My dear people, the course of our journey towards the kingdom for each one of us is a struggle. Because Jesus made it clear for us who are Christians. If you want to follow me, and this is the way to the cross, you need to take the cross on your shoulders. And the cross of life is the cross that God even gave to his bride, the church. That cross by which he is going to purify herself, by which he is going to be a sign of others to follow, to become aware that in order to achieve the crown of glory, she has to undergo the trials of the cross. And that is exactly what the gospel is all about. How many times Jesus is reaching out to us when we abandon him, when we, as we say, get away from him. And many times we are so busy, alienated with different things that we have in life. Unfortunately, we fail to reach out to him so that he can help us and save us. In the second reading today, we find a third decision that St. Paul has to make in order to achieve the goal for what he was called, to be not only a minister of the word, but also to be a saint. And St. Paul today said, deep in my conscience, I know that what I have done is really eating me alive. When I think of my kindred, when I think of my people, the Jewish people, that to whom God has given the law, that God has sent prophecy, that God has sent them the patriarchs, to them that every Sunday, every Saturday, they read it in the synagogue, that same scripture that lead them to the coming of Christ in the flesh, they fail to recognize him. And because of this, I have to distance myself from them, because I have achieved or I have chosen to follow Christ. And for him, nobody can come closer. For him, I gave my life. For him, I live. In fact, not me who live, but he lives in me. My dear people, the three readings speak to us about decisions that we have to make in life. Those decisions that we are going to encounter. In each one of us, we think that God is going to come with pomp and with majesty and with lots of thunder and lots of lighting, but the Lord does not come like humanity comes. Humanity wants to make a noise when we appear, but God comes to us in silence. In fact, he comes in the silence of the night. He comes like a breeze. He comes to us for those who have chosen him to give us that peace of mind and heart. Everyone experiences that if we can silence ourselves and let God be God in our lives. Everyone can experience that if we allow God in our life to take over the emotions and sometimes the situation that we go through. And that's why today Jesus said to Peter, O man of little faith, that man that he is about to make him the vicar of himself on the face of the earth, that man who is going to die for the Lord, that man who is going to be the one who are going to lead the church, fail, and so we will fail. It's not how much we say really matter in our in our relation with the Lord, but how much we give our life totally and completely to Him. And this is why I stress the most important factor, that unless we have a personal relation with the Lord, we cannot experience Him on person to person. When we experience Him to person, there is no room for fear, because fear comes from distrust. Fear comes from insecurity. Fear comes because we trust in ourselves. And many times because we don't know what tomorrow brings, we have the doubt that something can go wrong. This is why St. Paul said to us today, yes, to them who are given everything. And in order to recognize Jesus, God gave them every prophet, every prophecy, every law that directs them to the coming of Jesus. But because, like each one of us, their minds were so dull and so in darkness because of sin, because they attached themselves in their power and what the world can offer, they failed to recognize Him at His coming. And we will not recognize Him at His coming in our lives if we are not going to be subject ourselves to have that relationship with Him. Because we too, with the darkness that our minds is filled, because of all of us are attached to that sin of our forefathers. If we do not let go of those things in our lives, we will also be blind to see Him when He comes to us. My dear people, as we continue the celebration of the Mass, let us look at the story of one of the times of St. Francis de Sales. As you know, St. Francis de Sales was a great missionary, was a great preacher. And one time he was going through to the mission field, and all of a sudden he saw a woman that when he came closer to her, he recognized that she was pulling some water from the well. But before she put the bucket down, she put a piece of wood in the bucket attached to the handle of the bucket. And Saint Francis said to her, why are you doing that? And she looks at him like, are you for real? He said, because when I am pulling the water, I don't want the bucket to go from one end to the other with the moving of the water, but that wood keeps still the water. My dear people, that is exactly what we need to understand, that in the course of these tempests, we know that we need the cross to keep us calm, to give us the courage we need so that we don't lose it. As we continue the celebration of the Mass today, we ask Jesus for a deep faith in Him, that we deepen our relationship with Him, and not because we go to Mass that we are doing our fulfillment of why we are Christians, but we need to build that rapport with Him, that rapport that comes through prayer, through meditation, and spend time in His presence. And then we are going to see that the troubles of life, any bad news from our doctor, any bad news from people, are not going to bring us down. Because the cross is given to us not to crush us under it, but to lift it up as a sign of glory and victory that the Lord has done for us. May today's gospel instigate in us that same faith that Jesus demanded from Peter, and I hope and pray it's not very little, so that that faith that we have in Jesus will continue to live with a hope that He who is with us will bring us together in a safe port, which is heaven. God bless you.